host, Sky, aka Trigger Ranking. Want y'all to like, subscribe, share, definitely hit the notification bell. If you like to support the channel, everything is in the description. Cash App. If you like to follow me on any other platforms, everything in the description of my YouTube channel. With that being said, let's get this show on the road.
You are watching a master at work.
Alright, y'all. So, probably gonna start out with Mr. Ken. Start out with Mr. Ken right quick.
Nobody gets 16 years of fucking prison.
Well, let me take your headphones out. Well, it don't even matter.
Looking out across the nighttime, the city winks, sleepless eyes. Hear her voice, shake my window, sweet seducing sighs. Looking out across the nighttime, the city winks, sleepless eyes. Voice, shake my window, sweet seducing sighs. Get me out into the nighttime. Falls won't hold me tonight. If this town is just an apple, let me take a bite. And they say, why? Tell them that it's human nature. Why does it do me that way? I say, why? Tell them that it's human nature. Why does it do me that way? Reaching out to touch a stranger. Ooh, electric eyes are everywhere. See that girl? She knows I'm watching. See that girl? She likes the way I stare. And they say, why? Tell them that it's human nature. Why does it do me that way? They say, why? Tell them that it's human nature. Why does it do me that way? I like living this way. I like loving this way.
Oh, y'all hit the like button, man. Hit the like button. Come on, man. Like button free, man. Hit the like button. Hey, y'all want to hear it one more time? Hit a one in the chat. If y'all want to hear it one more time, hit a one in the chat. One more time, hit a one in the chat. Where y'all coming from? What's city, state, Providence, country, where y'all coming from? I'm gonna play it again anyway. Hit the cash app and I'll go down there and listen right now. And they say why? Tell them that it's human nature. Why? Does it do me that way? I say why? Tell them that it's human nature. Why? Do me that way? Reaching out to touch a stranger. Electric eyes are everywhere. See that girl? She knows I'm watching. See that girl? She likes the way I stare. And they say why? Tell them that it's human nature. Why? Does it do me that way? They say why? Tell them that it's human nature. Why? Does it do me that way? I like living this way. I like loving this way. Across the moon. All right, y'all. We got some insiders making billions betting on Iran war. So it won $1.2 billion. What? Hold on, y'all. Hold on. All right, y'all. We about to check this video. So why you ain't called? Who the hell is that? Ape victim.
Have you ever found something online that you absolutely love, so you screenshot it, you save the link, only to lose the link later? Yeah, same.
And apparently, there have been a select number of people.
Right, you said why I ain't call you?
Wait a minute. Who are you?
Making insider bets, insider trades on everything going on in the Iran war, and they're absolutely sweeping up. Meanwhile, your portfolios and my portfolio is getting absolutely hammered. It is a joke, and I'm going to reveal it all to you in this video. Everyone's getting exposed, right? I've had it, right? So this is a breakdown on Sky News, and it's basically explaining how there's been some very suspicious purchases and sales in the oil markets, both before and after Trump's ceasefire announcements.
Normally, in these screens, in the last few weeks, we've been talking about the economic implications of the Iran war. But this time I want to talk about something else. It's kind of a mystery story. It's a mystery story. The mystery begins with this. This was the Donald Trump social media post, Truth Social, that for a lot of people made them think that maybe this war might be coming to an end. At the very least, it had a big impact on markets. And the thing I want you to focus on is not necessarily the text of this, but it's the time it came out. 11:05, that's UK time.
Trapaholics, real trap shit.
So 11:05 in the UK, it was morning, earlier in the morning in the US, obviously. And look at the impact that this had. Okay, so this is showing you the crude oil price. It's the US kind of benchmark of the crude oil price, WTI as it's known. And you can probably spot already the moment that Donald Trump post happened. The oil price went down really sharply. We've had lots of ups and downs, lots of volatile days on markets in recent days. But this was something else. As traders went out there and they basically said, we're selling oil because we think that things might get a little bit better. But here's what I focus on that you don't normally see in these charts. Not just the price, so that's the oil price, but the volumes. You can actually look at this. You can look at just how many people are buying and selling at any given moment. And have a look at volumes. So these bars are showing you the volume. So at the given moment that obviously that Donald Trump post happened, you had this massive increase in a lot of people going out there into the market saying, look.
So that's basically insider trading. Martha Stewart went to jail for that shit.
Something's happening, we need to actually act on it. In the most case, selling at this point. But here's the curious thing, and here's kind of where the mystery is. I want to kind of zoom in on this area here. So I'll kind of zoom in so you can see these are the volumes of people going into that oil market and kind of, for the most part, selling after that Donald Trump post. You can see there's this real spike in activity. A lot of people going in there, kind of this frenzy, and that's the kind of flip side of prices. But look at this. 15 minutes before that Donald Trump post, there was a very big amount of trading volume. Very big. In fact, actually, when you're looking at that amount of volume, that spike, that was the biggest trading volume that we saw that day. We're starting here just at 8 o'clock in the morning. We're going through to that moment of the Donald Trump post. Relatively quiet volumes, not much going on in the market, and then all of a sudden that. And if you're wondering, okay, maybe this was just a one-off, it was somebody who made a lucky bet. Have a look not just at this. So this is WTI, it's one measure, the US measure of oil. Have a look at Brent, which is the kind of the European, seen as the international measure of oil. Again, the same thing. Donald Trump makes his post, flurry of activity, lots of people there. But look at that. Before that Donald Trump post, a very big trade. Now, it's unclear whether it's just an individual or whether it's a kind of group of people, but what you do know from attention, just a real killing on this. And it's not just oil. So that oil.
Water.
Somebody that is raising eyebrows. Yeah, we don't know who they are, but somebody that is raising eyebrows. Yeah, we don't know who they are, but plays dozens of remarkably accurate bets on Polymarket, a prediction on everything. To this data from Bubble Maps, an analytics company that tracks blockchain transactions. The data shows that the trader placed some bets just hours of surprise attack against Iran last month and less Israeli trading activity, specifically because of the timing that these bets came shortly before unannounced military operations. This is why the experts were alarmed. Most bettors, shrewd bettors that know how to do this, they usually have about a 50% win rate, 51, 52%. That's how they make their money. But this trader, for their Iran-related bets, they had a win rate that was over 80%. And if you look at their big bets, over $10,000, their win rate was 93%. Staggering. Now, all of these Iran trades occurred on Polymarket's international website, which is out of reach of U.S. federal regulations that prohibit insider. That's one of the reasons why a lot of members of Congress are trying to crack down on these prediction sites. We reached out to Polymarket for comment. They did not respond, but they did.
App AI lets you turn text into a music video. No credits needed. Check it out.
So it doesn't count as insider trading.
They recently announced new rules that restricts insider activity on their platforms.
No shit, right? Of course they're going to do that. They're losing millions of dollars to whoever is responsible. Now, in the comments, they're thinking it's Barron Trump. Now, I could look into that in a little bit more detail another time for you guys, but it's definitely suspect, all right? Definitely very suspect. So this pattern of high-stakes geopolitical wagering has actually been well established before the Iran war. People were making money on the Venezuela shit, all types of stuff. And the fact that we even have Polymarket in this day and age is actually bizarre.
This is major legal news. While Americans are struggling at home, a few government insiders are making massive profits by betting on war. They use an online gambling account called Polymarket, and here an account called MAGA My Man placed a bet on exactly when the U.S. would strike Iran. That account turned an $87,000 bet into over $500,000 by placing their wager exactly 71 minutes before the first missile struck. But as bad as that sounds, it actually gets worse. At least 6 other Polymarket accounts profited over $1.2 million by betting that the
I
U.S.
heard of poly relationships, but I never heard of a poly market. Never heard of it.
strike Iran on February 28th. These accounts placed their bets within hours or even minutes of the strikes. They had little or no prior betting history, which means the timing of this war was the one bet they knew they could win. Yet still, there is more fuckery afoot here. Over $500 million was wagered on various bets related to the Iran war on Polymarket this weekend. And similar bets were made moments before the U.S. struck Venezuela back in January. And there's a common thread between these bets and the people making them that is absolutely chilling. The bets are being placed by new or relatively new accounts. Some accounts place small decoy bets so that they don't look like insiders. Others don't even bother. The bets are made on very specific questions, such as exactly when a U.S. strike will occur, which leads anyone with 2 eyeballs and a brain to conclude government insiders are using your tax dollars to fund wars, which they then gamble on using insider information to make massive profits while bombs fall. It is not a trading opportunity. This is corruption. But I want to know what you think. Is there any shot that these bets were placed not by government insiders? And even if they weren't, should this even be allowed? Let me know what you think below, and be sure to follow to stay in the loop.
I personally think it is definitely true that government insiders or perhaps, family members are responsible for what's going on. Now, what's crazy is that the rise of these markets has actually led to direct threats against journalists, and it's prompted formal calls for investigation by the U.S. Senate.
As we've seen in sports, athletic figures, including college athletes, being berated by people who lost bets because they didn't get a rebound. Well, we have our first example of a war reporter getting this. The Washington Post reporting on your reaction to it because you've been ringing the alarm bells about how insidious this entire thing is.
Yeah, I introduced legislation with Representative Greg Casar today to ban the ability for these prediction markets to offer bets on government action. And it's just insidious because we know that there have been people inside the Trump White House that have been making bets on war with Iran. Now, nobody should be making money off of life and death. These are essentially bets on when dozens of people are going to die in Israel or in Iran. But it's worse than that because it allows people close to the president who have made a bet on, let's say, a strike happening on a particular day to give advice to the president based on what makes them money rather than what's best for national security. So there should be a complete prohibition on anybody being able to wager on life, death, famine, or frankly, any other national security decision that's being made at the White House. And hopefully people will see some merit in our legislation.
So it's honestly a dystopian hellscape that we're now in an age where you can gamble on world events and, eyebrows are being raised that maybe the people making decisions about world events are gambling on them too. It's very twisted. Now, in January 2026, somebody actually successfully wagered a bet on the capture of Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela right before it happened. I wonder who.
A more than $400,000 mystery has been uncovered following the capture of former Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Just hours before news actually broke of the military operation, an anonymous user on a prediction market placed a significant bet that Maduro would be out of power by the end of the month. The perfectly timed wager is raising questions about possible insider knowledge with national security implications. Senior business and technology correspondent Jolyn Kent.
The night before the U.S. military captured Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro and his wife, somebody, somewhere, placed an extremely well-timed bet. An anonymous user on the prediction market site Polymarket, where users can wager on nearly any topic, bet $32,000 that the Venezuelan president would be out of power by January 31st. The following morning at 4:21 a.m. Eastern, the president announced Maduro was in custody, and that user cashed out, making more than $400,000.
These are the wildest of the Wild West.
Lawyer Dennis.
So there's a theory going around. Now, this is opinion. I'm not saying this is fact. Don't sue me. Don't put me in trouble. But there's a rumor going around that Steve Witkoff, the special envoy to the Middle East for the US, is actually the person behind this bet. Now, there's no, you know what I'm saying? I'm just going to read you this post, right? It says, insider who earned $400,000 from the overthrow of Maduro might be linked to Trump. It says, in the Trump community, they're discussing that an insider trader who earned around 400 grand on Polymarket by betting around 32,000 that Nicolas Maduro will leave the presidency of Venezuela by January the 31st, 2026. The analysis of this deal was published by a community member of the nickname Andrew Tenguai. He believes that such a bet was unlikely to be random, and in his opinion, it could have been made by someone connected to the circle of Stephen Charles Witkoff, one of the co-founders of the World Project affiliated with US President Trump.
Do you believe the Bible? I mean, really believe it. Here in Israel.
Trump. Now, why the bet attracted attention? We're talking about the Polymarket market where users were making predictions about whether Nicolas Maduro would leave the presidency of Venezuela by a specific date. The trader made a large bet a few hours before the events, after which the outcome of this market became almost obvious. As a result, he made a profit of about 400 grand. It's precisely the combination of time, amount, accuracy, and forecast that raised questions in the community. But where did the money for the bet come from? Andrew Tenguai, whatever that means,
I wish I had that money I got now, put it on there. I would have
described how the Polymarket account was funded and two wallets that the funds basically sent to the platform. Both wallets looked identical, no other activity. The money came from Coinbase and immediately went to Polymarket. From this, the author drew a simple conclusion. The addresses could have been created specifically for one transaction. The author paid special attention to one of the wallets. An address received 252 Solana from Coinbase on late January the 1st. After that, the author checked the deposits on Coinbase for the previous they found an almost identical match. Another wallet deposited at 252
This shit is evil, bro. It's evil, man.
All on the exchange. This happened 23 hours before the was drawn to the address that funded Polymarket. The difference in amount is minimal. The time interval is small, but according to the author, such coincidences are not coincidences at all. The wallet from which the money went to Coinbase contained the domains stvlu.sol and stcharles.sol. Another address in this chain was associated with the domain sol100.sol. An analysis of its operations revealed that it processed transfers totaling $11 million to the wallet with the domain stephencharles.sol. What does Witkoff have to do with it? Well, the name St. Charles and Stephen Charles match the name of Stephen Charles Witkoff. Does not assert that the wallet belonged to him. The author is full of suspicions. The coincidence of names, large sums, and the fact that all these addresses use the same Coinbase deposit details may indicate the involvement of people in the same circle. If so, someone in this chain may have had access to information unavailable to ordinary users. After the market closed, about $440,000 was withdrawn from Polymarket to Coinbase. A few hours later, I can't even keep a straight face. Fartcoin tokens worth about $170,000 were withdrawn from the exchange. The coins were sent to the stvlu.sol wallet. Fartcoin, this is a joke. They're literally farting in the face of the public. In terms of timing, this happened shortly after the win was received. The authors wonder whether this purchase was made in part from profits. What is the outcome? In the end, there's a chain of amazing coincidences, almost identical amounts for deposits and withdrawals with a difference of about a day, repeating names of wallets, large transfers between addresses, a short interval between winning and purchasing tokens. There's no direct evidence of insider trading. However, according to the author of the analysis, the whole picture is stitched to be a simple coincidence. Yeah, it's a little bit sus, isn't it, folks? That's a little bit sus. Now, they weren't the only ones having some fun, allegedly. Okay, in March 2026, a group of accounts reportedly earned over $1 million by correctly predicting the exact timings of airstrikes in Iran. An anonymous Polymarket accounts, several accounts, won $1.2 million on Trump's Iran strikes in suspicious bets. Oh, good. It's been less than 8 weeks since an anonymous account on Polymarket netted over 400 grand, successfully predicting Trump invading Venezuela and extracting Maduro. The mysterious better doubled down on their wager mere hours before United States aircraft launched the attacks in Iran, which led to at least 80 civilian and military casualties. It was an extremely suspicious situation in which it seems likely that somebody with insider info profited from deadly attacks, an egregious twist on warfare facilitated by a glaring regulatory vacuum that is yet to be meaningfully addressed. Now that the Trump admin has attacked Iran, the situation looks even worse.
Man, you can make money off of betting off of. This is crazy, bro. You can make money off of betting on the war, bro.
To blockchain analytics company BubbleMats, 6 Polymarket accounts made around 1.2 mil in profit after successfully betting on the US striking Iran by the end of February, suggesting that an ethically appalling scheme is spreading behind closed doors. As Bloomberg reported, all 6 accounts were created just last month and exclusively bet on when Trump would be striking the sovereign nation. The bets were made mere hours before the first bombs fell on Iran's capital, Tehran. While on one account wasn't always successful, betting the US would take military action sooner. A subsequent bet of over 26 grand that the US would strike on Saturday won it more than 174 grand. Lawmakers were out for the news. It's insane this is legal, said Senator Chris Murphy on Blue Sky. People around Trump are profiting off this war and death. I'm introducing legislation ASAP to ban this. Good luck with that one, folks. Beyond those suspicious accounts, many other users were sucked into the fervor of bloodshed in Iran. Polymarkets will trade.
Man, this is wild, bro.
Volumes for a single contract about the timing of Trump's strikes ballooned to just shy of 90 million. The instance highlights how prediction markets allow a huge chunk of their users to gamble on geopolitical speculation, while a select few with insider knowledge benefit far more. Prediction markets are some of the first that allow direct bets on geopolitical events, BubbleMat CEO said. In cases involving war or conflict, information can circulate within a broader circle before becoming public. Making matters worse is Polymarket facilitating anonymous betting through the use of crypto, making instances of insider trading difficult to identify, let alone police. Combine that with the fact that Polymarket generally has only required a wallet to trade, which allows for a high level of anonymity that can create incentives for informed participants to act early. I wonder who is involved. I wonder what kind of magnate or baron could be involved in this ridiculousness. Somebody else correctly made bets on the killing of Iran's supreme leader. My man made over $500,000 on betting on the death of Iran's supreme leader. Okay, basically, just before the strikes, they made that perfect bet. Right, the trades drew scrutiny from Congress and critics of prediction markets who say the platforms invite people with access to classified info to profit on lethal military operations. On Polymarket alone, $500 million was traded over exactly when US forces would drop bombs on Iran. This being legal is insane, said Chris Murphy. He's trying to shut it down. He wants to introduce legislation. And the White House have denied that anyone in Trump's orbit was behind the lucrative trades. The Trump family, however...
But how did they know? How did they know that they were going to strike them at that time? Like what was the triggering feeling that you was like, oh, okay, they're about to take them out right now, or they're about to get... the Venezuelan president right now? Like, how do we know that? Like, you had to have insider information to know that was going to happen.
Have ties to Polymarket. Donald Trump Jr., the president's son, is an advisor to Polymarket, and his venture capital firm, 1789 Capital, has invested millions into the controversial business. The Trump admin has dropped 2 federal investigations into Polymarket that were opened by President Joe Biden's officials. And it's the latest episode igniting debate about how government and military insiders can monetize state secrets. In January, an anonymous trader made hundreds of thousands of dollars, placing suspiciously well-timed bets ahead of the arrest of Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. A month later, authorities in Israel people from classified info to place on bets on Polymarket about upcoming attacks on Iran when the countries fought a 12-day war last June. The millions flowing into the market related to the toppling of Iran's supreme leader were made on overseas exchanges operated by Polymarket, meaning it's not even within the reach of legislation.
Hey Atlanta, visit the Wayfair store at the District in Howell Mill. Coming soon.
What's up, everybody?
Of legislators in Washington. What a coinky dick, eh? The Trump admin has granted approval for Polymarket to open a US-based platform, but it hasn't publicly launched. People are going to get rich. Okay, prediction markets have surged in popularity recently. They're federally regulated by the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, and they look at this as a futures contract, not gambling. Under US commodity trading laws, making trades based on death, war, and violence illegal. Those bets create a financial reward for violence and human suffering and geopolitical instability. You're not allowed to do that. That constraint was on display over the weekend in the way another major prediction market, Kalshi, responded to a market tied to when Khomeini would be out, a prospect 54 million in trades. And when Khomeini's death was confirmed, those who placed bets on Kalshi on the leader's ousting expected a payout, but it never happened. Instead, trading was paused while the company conducted a further review of the situation.
Damn.
The Kalshi CEO said they'd be refunding fees collected on the Khomeini market.
Damn, so they got people on Kalshi, because Kalshi, you could bet on the weather, all kind of shit. You can bet on anything on Kalshi. But yeah, the craziest thing about that is they're betting on war.
We don't list markets directly tied to death. When there are markets where potential outcomes involve death, we design the rules to prevent people from profiting from the death. That's what we did here, they said. In messages sent out to users who placed bets before and after the Iranian leader's death, Kalshi said it would be issuing partial refunds amounting to the last traded price before the death was confirmed. So it did not run afoul of the US laws markets where people can profit from death and assassinations. But this decision created an uproar among traders who felt like they'd been duped. They were all the more infuriated having watched the company heavily promote the Khamenei market for days on social media. Getting rugged on 100% correct prediction because of a fine print death carve-out is wild, said a user. Centralized oracles will always bend over to compliance over reality. Others were less generous. They derided Kalshi's actions. They called the platform a scam, basically saying that Congress need to stop it. Now, the Redditors have been reacting to this wild news and just this dystopian hellscape of a situation where people are actually gambling on deaths. And this was a post basically saying, I found Iran war insiders through tracking polymarket activities for months. They said, so CoffeeZilla dropped a video on the 1.5 billion insider trading situation. The Bubble Maps investigation he featured found 7 connected polymarket accounts betting on US military operations with a 93% success rate, betting at 20% odds. 20% odds meaning the consensus was 80% not going to happen, and winning for 2 years straight. I've been tracking this type of activity for months now. I do on-chain analytics and built a tool that scans every polymarket trade, traces USDC funding on Polygon, and looks for the same kind of cluster patterns that Bubble Maps found. So far, it's processed 91,000 trades across 17,000 wallets, roughly $470 million in volume. The stuff CoffeeZilla talked about in the video is everywhere. There's a wallet that only bets on Iran and Lebanon military markets. They're betting on US and Iran ceasefire by May 31st. They're betting on if Israel will launch ground offensives in Lebanon, US forces entering Iran. Exactly the type of markets that Bubble Maps flagged. 11 resolved bets, 11 wins. $820,000 in volume, $146K in profit, and they're still placing new bets as of today. Nick from Bubble Maps talked about how these accounts share funding sources, deposits, addresses. The data showed the same thing at
I would be rich right now. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not lying, bro. I would be rich right now, bro. I'm talking about rich.
One single funder address connects to 7,200 proxy wallets on Polymarket, so it could just be one dude doing all of this, or one organization. Another one funds 956 wallets. The top non-bot wallets in the system are running at 87% win rates across 60 bets, with over 200 grand in profit. CoffeeZilla made the point that you can't prove who's behind the wallet from on-chain data alone, and that's true, but I can't tell you if it's a lieutenant, logistics guy, or someone's we can see a statistical pattern. Wallets going 11 for 11 on geopolitical military events funded by the same sources, betting at the same times, on the same categories. That's not luck over 2 years. The tool, 2 years, eh? 2 years? What happened 2 years ago? Who got in 2 years? Interesting. The tool is called Crowd Intel. There's full investigation reports, and you can see all of the suspicious activity. Saying, call me cynical, but I have absolutely no faith that these people will be brought to justice, at least not within the next 3 years. Hopefully, the SEC forces Polymarket to release all the identifying information tied to these accounts. It's called gambling. It's called gambling. Very likely. Saying the market knew before the tweet, 5 minutes before Trump's announcement, 1.5 billion notional worth of S&P 500 futures are bought in a single clip. 119 million of notional oil futures were sold more than 4 to 6 times any other trade size. During the market close, insiders profited from his lies. Profiteers in okay. It says, I wonder what Martha Stewart's thoughts are on this. What an effort.
That's what I said, Martha Stewart. That's inside trading, bro.
Nothing is going to happen.
Martha Stewart went to jail for this.
And just days ago, the SEC enforcement director reportedly resigned after allegedly calling for these investigations. The SEC enforcement director, Margaret Ryan, resigned last week, reportedly fought with agency bosses after calling for an investigation into Trump's family. Nothing to see here, folks. Forcing someone to resign because they want to investigate your corruption is the most innocent behavior, right? We need to get out from under this. The whole system is in crash and burn mode, all right? Hey, someone's making some money out of this, I wonder who. But despite the ethical concerns on betting on wars, Polymarket has defended its business model and they're going to keep things going. So survivors in the Middle East are using prediction markets to decide to seek shelter. Said advocates, Polymarket didn't answer questions from the Times of Israel about the details of the investigation, but representatives for Polymarket also didn't respond to Business Insider's request for comment. Advocates for prediction markets have said they encourage honesty by requiring users to put their money where their mouth is. Shane Copland, Polymarket's founder, said that people in the Middle East can use military strike markets to decide whether they want to sleep next to a bomb shelter. It's a joke. Apparently this is false. The Polymarket CEO claims that people might use prediction markets for that. Nobody is using them for that. Imagine using Polymarket to get everybody feeling dystopian shit right here. This planet sucks. Dystopia is the word, okay? I think this is really wrong. I think it's really out of line. It actually strikes right at the heart of what the American dream is supposed to be.
Hey, breaking news. Tiger Woods was in a rollover crash in Florida. Let's hope that he's okay.
America is supposed to be the bastion of capitalism where you can come and you can work hard. If you're smart, if you roll up your sleeves, you can become a millionaire, you can become successful in this world, in America, by doing an honest day's job. This basically is just destroying that. This is basically saying, no, it's for the insiders, it's for the nepotists, it's for family only, it's a big club and you're not part of it. And I honestly find it absolutely disgusting. So let me know what you thought of this, man. I personally...
check out Trap More Ross, orated by Trap Lil Ross. That's what we just got through reacting to. We're about to react to the sauce right now. Celeb Sauce 2124. Check them out, y'all. We about to do that right. Nizzle, right?
I made my own custom comic with Coma AI. Just pick a style you like, upload your photo, and Hey, yo, thanks for tuning into the song. The source for celebrity news.
Hey yo, thanks for tuning into The Source, your source for celebrity news. Do me a favor and hit that like button, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, why don't you go ahead and do that too? Alright y'all, check it out. After being at the center of a hip-hop civil war between 50 Cent and family plus like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of the rappers, Tiny Harris has now broken her silence about the beef between her husband and 50 Cent. Tiny says that although she's honored that all of the men in her family represented for her and defended her, she wasn't that bothered by 50 Cent's post.
How do you feel about being used in this back?
Yeah, well, I felt like it was, of course, uncomfortable because, I mean...
Hold on, y'all. I'm going to stop these lives and I'm coming right back. Y'all be right. I got to start it over again. Boom.